All right, how's it going, guys? So, I'm going to make this live very short and sweet. We all know Arsenal has won the league, and I believe what Arteta has exposed is that fans don't know what they're talking about, especially the football pseudo intellectuals online. Now, I'm a fan, I watch the game, I have opinions, and I'm emotional. But I do remember exactly what it was like in the football community, especially within the Arsenal fan base when Arteta was first announced as the manager of Arsenal. It's very similar to what is happening right now at Man United, as Carrick was announced as the permanent manager going into next season. So, at the beginning, Arteta's resume and claim to fame was simply I worked with Pep Guardiola. That's it. Some people were saying he was the cone man, the cone boy. He was just an entourage, not qualified to take a job as big as Arsenal. The critics were coming from everywhere, the pundits, and even within the Arsenal fan base. The social media were having a field day, and he won the FA Cup, and people started to believe a little bit. But obviously, he finished eighth. At that point, Arteta out. Many fans were doubting, saying he couldn't do anything. He would never win the club anything. The jerseys or the shirts were out. Everyone was essentially saying how this is not the manager to get Arsenal to the place they are today. Fast forward a few years, 6, 7 years, I don't know how long. Fast forward to 2026. Arsenal has won the league. Arteta has won the league. All those fans, all those pundits, what are they saying now? Credit to Arteta. Congratulations, Arsenal. And the fans that wanted Arteta out don't remember those opinions anymore. It doesn't matter. They're all happy and celebrating. Now, what is my point in all of this? The board of Arsenal, or whoever was in charge, had a plan and they stuck to it and they stuck by their manager. With all the pressure from outside forces and from internal forces within the Arsenal fan base, they stuck to their guns. If Arteta was fired when he finished eighth, Arsenal may not have won the league this season because he would not have been the coach. When Klopp came to Liverpool, same thing happened. He didn't start off strong, but over time he got better. He was given time. And what the league is proving so far is that if you are given time, you will improve. Whether you win the league or not, that depends because time doesn't always equate to success. But it's either you give the managers time or you do what City does 115 charges, inject funds, buy your way to victory. Obviously, have a great manager like Pep Guardiola. However, there are not many Peps out there, meaning whatever manager you choose to go with will inevitably be a risk. Going back to Arteta, when he came to Arsenal and started his whole project, he did have to face player power, but the club stood by him and backed him above everything else. And again, that proved to have worked over time. But the key thing here that they actually let him do what he had to do. He had to get rid of so many players, Aubameyang, Lacazette. There were a lot of changes over the years. Now, people could criticize him for the style of play because that was the one thing the football pseudo intellectuals would criticize him for, that is style of play. And his style of play has evolved over the years, not only because he's gotten better players, but just because as a team and as a manager, he's grown. Again, Arsenal was his first job as a manager. All his work experience was in Arsenal. Now, Michael Carrick has come to Manchester United with more experience than Arteta had when he took the Arsenal job. He came into a team that many believed were not good enough to even qualify for Europe. With no backing in January, he successfully made Manchester United finish third place. Now, as a club of Man United stature, is that something to go crazy about? Absolutely not. But we have to look at things within context. The season before that, we finished 15th. Now, the manager that finished 15th to me wasn't necessarily a bad manager. I was one of the rare few who actually supported Ruben Amorim to the very end. And I'll tell you why. Because unlike Arsenal, where they built a plan and the board seemed like they knew what they were doing, they had a dream and a direction, and they were all invested. They were either going to sink or swim. Man United doesn't have that. And I generally backed every manager aside from David Moyes because he was the only manager at Man United that inherited a Premier League winning team and made them a mid-table team. And that for me, that was unacceptable. However, with the LVG, the Jose Mourinho's, and everybody else that came afterwards, we just wanted a quick fix. Ruben Amorim had a poor start. He made the mistake of trying to implement a philosophy with the wrong caliber of players. However, if you do look at his performances from the first season to the second season where he got fired, you could clearly see it was an upward trajectory. When he came into the club, we were on a downward trajectory with Ten Hag, and Ten Hag got sacked. He came in midway, which he wasn't a big fan of. He was opposed to that, but the board forced him and sold him a dream. And then we all know how that story ended. But regardless of the slander he gets, we were on an upward trajectory when Ruben Amorim was here for the second season. We were 6 and a few points away from fourth and had multiple opportunities to cross over the line, but it didn't happen. There were news about him losing the dressing room and everything else. And this is the big problem with Manchester United today. The biggest lie that Arteta has exposed is the fact that you need to back the players over the manager. Because the one thing Man United fans will tell you is you can't fire all the players. No one is asking you to do that. During Arteta's time, the players he started with and the players that are currently in the club, drastically different. I'm pretty sure at some point he had Bellerin. I could be wrong. But they backed Arteta regardless. The players on the contract are going to play. They might not play their best. That's fine. You slowly weed them out over time and slowly bring in signs you can trust. And that's how you do it. It also exposes another lie that we need to get a ready-made manager in order to achieve success. This is one thing I would say about that whole thing. Even if we were to get a Luis Enrique who isn't available at this moment, we need to give him time. And time isn't something you get at Manchester United, especially from the track record we've had. If Luis Enrique comes in here, what are the fans going to want? They're going to want him to come in and make us like PSG. At first, the fans will seem reasonable. Of course, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, but we're going to have to see progress first. He comes in here, tries to do that. He fails maybe the first few games, loses a few games. All of a sudden, his reputation will slowly tank and the fans will turn on him. We know this because that's been the story since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club. So we get a manager who's inexperienced, just like Arteta, who is now taking us to third place, which in a way, it's somewhat of a success in terms of the club and the money that they gain from finishing in third position. Same way Arteta came in and won the FA Cup. Not the same thing. FA Cup obviously is a cup trophy, better than that. Point is, both managers somewhat showed promise in their first season, and that's how they got the job. Not trying to equate both of them, but the one thing they have in common is their inexperience, even though I would argue that Carrick has more experience than Arteta did when he took the Arsenal job. To now write off Carrick when we've literally seen what someone who literally learned the job on the job has done. And by the way, it's not like this was a fluke season that they won the league. He's been finishing second with Arsenal the past few seasons. Second, ole, ole, ole. You guys remember the banter. He's been slowly, steadily over the years increasing and improving, and he would only get better. Carrick needs to be given a chance. If we got Luis Enrique and we wanted him to come in and turn us into PSG overnight, it would not happen because unlike PSG, we do not have Dembele, we do not have Hakimi, we do not have Nuno Mendes, we do not have those players. We have Luke Shaw and we have Diogo Dalot. I'm not saying our team is completely terrible, but it will take some time for a rigid coach like Luis Enrique to bring his style of play here. And we see what happens when coaches come in and try to adapt until they get their players. The fans are unhappy because that was Ruben Amorim's biggest criticism. And Ruben Amorim also exposed a lot of these football pseudo-intellectuals who really were in support of him at first. Because when he came in, he was the antithesis to Eric Ten Hag. He did everything that Ten Hag didn't do. Ten Hag would lie in press conferences like the President of the United States. He would lie as easily as it were to breathe. And fans didn't like that. Ruben Amorim came in. What did he do? He came in and he was brutally honest, and fans complained that he was too honest. Ten Hag came in and refused to play the Ajax style of play because he felt the players were not good enough, or rather, the structure here wasn't built for that, and he needed to start from the ground up. So, switched to transition football, which the players are more comfortable with. Finished third, I believe. Fans were complaining about that. We didn't sign you here not to play the Ajax style of play. The results didn't matter, third didn't matter. We were not playing the Ajax style of play. It was all about the style of play. Ruben Amorim comes in, starts to use his style of play immediately. We start to lose games. Fans say, forget your style of play. Be more flexible. Don't be rigid. What is the message here? The fans don't know what they're talking about. The same way the Arsenal fans didn't understand that Arteta could end up taking them to the promised land like he did. The Man United fans don't know exactly what the next manager should be. If you ask them right now, who do you think we can sign as a manager that would win us the league, and how long do you think it would take? The answer to that question would be, I do not know, because that's the truth. Fans, including myself, don't know what they're talking about. And Arteta winning the league has exposed that as well. This big lie that somehow, because you have a microphone in front of you and a camera to look into, that you suddenly become some sort of authority is absolutely nonsense. We're all here spewing opinions. And what I'm about to say next is simply just that, an opinion. I am of the opinion that as Manchester United, as an institution, in order for us to get to the heights that we need to be, we need to understand that we're falling from grace. And with a fall comes a climb. It's actually necessary. We need to climb. And climbing means you got to start from the bottom and walk your way up. That is inherently the definition. So, what am I saying? You might think Carrick is a risk. You might want to sound smart online and be like, if you get Michael Carrick right now, he will come into this club, he would ruin things, he will feel like the managers before. That is not being smart. That's simply statistics. Anybody could do that. I could do that. I could simply roll the bets that the next manager to take the Man United job will not win the league, and the odds will be in my favor because since Fergie has left, no manager has won the league, and every manager has failed. This one has shown promise since Carrick came into Manchester United. I believe he's acquired more points than every other manager in the league. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's something along those lines. Now, you could say he has had one game, he should do that, but we know that is being disingenuous. People just say that because it's Manchester United, hated, adored, never ignored. Keyword being, we're hated. Anything we do will be disregarded, right? People always try to demean, bring our whatever we do, they'll try to play it down to it, and that's fine. That's just a sign of our history and our stature as a club. Same way people are downplaying Bruno Fernandez's achievement. If it was any other club, any other player, it would be a different story, right? Declan Rice is being in the Ballon d'Or conversations, but I digress. Okay, so Ateta winning the league has taught us one thing: an inexperienced manager, one without caliber, like one that's not grandiose, can go ahead and win the league and do great things. Because we have to remember he's also in the UEFA Champions League final. If said manager is backed, not only was Ateta backed, player power doesn't exist in Arsenal. Ateta was the boss. He called the shots the entire time. If we want to mirror this model, which I believe we have to, we need to give Carrick that same chance. We have to watch how he's improving. If he's going on an upward trajectory, do not fire him. Even when Arteta was finishing second, the fans kept calling for his sack. Even this season, though, people were saying Arteta out, Arteta won't win anything. And he ends up winning something because fans are emotional. And that's exactly what the board needs to understand, because the board of Man United cannot be as emotional as the fans. And this whole style of play myth as well needs to be thrown out of the window. Playing beautiful football doesn't mean anything if you don't win games. You can criticize Carrick for how we've gotten to third, but he did what he needed to do. But again, fans are never satisfied. If we play well and we lose, we'll be like, what does that mean? It doesn't matter. If we play ugly and we win, we'll be like, well, the style of play was ugly. You can't win. Now, ideally, you want to play well and win, like PSG does. But for that to happen, you need a certain level of players. If you look at our squad and stack them against the teams that Man United should be in the conversations with, it is very obvious that we don't have that level. Oops, sorry, it's a lot. It's like a water thing. Anyway, sorry about the noise. I don't know if that's too distracting. Anyways, point is, we have the perfect manager right now for our current situation, because Manchester United as a club has fallen from grace. We need a caretaker. We need somebody to come in and gradually work our way up. Maybe improve the culture, improve the team cohesion, which I think Carrick has done within a short period of time. There's a sense of camaraderie within the team. When Bruno got the assist record, where everybody ran to him, and just overall, when you see them off camera or whatever, just there's a team there now, and I think that's very important. And also kudos to Carrick for that. Carrick could be our Arteta if we give him the chance. I am not saying it's guaranteed, but this idea of always hiring and firing managers doesn't make sense. Unfortunately, I don't have any say in that, neither do you, whoever you are watching this right now. It really all comes down to the board. I don't trust our board. I feel like we're being run by the Three Stooges. They got rid of Ruben Amorim. There was a plan and everything with Ruben Amorim, and then they got rid of him. Whatever, they had a falling out. And Carrick just kind of fell in our lap, and that was all very fortunate. But now this is where we are, and we need to capitalize on that. That is what I truly believe. And again, I need everyone watching this, wherever your favorite football channel is, just remember something. These football pseudo intellectuals are no better than you are. They're simply fans. They don't know what they're talking about. Many of them were saying Ateta wouldn't, and you have to understand there's also money behind this. There's a monetary incentive to promote negativity, right? There's a monetary incentive to be negative online. The algorithm, for some reason, picks up on drama, picks up on chaos. That's what people click on. That's what people consume. That's what people want to watch. So you can't you cannot fall trap to that. You cannot fall into that trap. You have to be a little bit. You need some level of discernment to be able to understand what is really going on. So congrats to Arsenal. You can complain about the corner kick tactics. You can complain about how ugly it was. By the end of the day, 10 years from now, that will count as their 14th title. And nothing you say will change that. So hopefully next season, the board can back Carrick and actually have the patience and the sense and the wisdom to ignore fans. Because just like people in the other camp Arsenal were calling for Arteta's sack. People saying he would never win anything. Just like they were ignored, we also need to ignore the loud minority that don't want Carrick to get the job. Again, if he fails, if we give him time and everything that he needs, and he doesn't show any signs of going into the direction of being title winners or whatever, by all means get rid of him. But this idea of firing and hoping for some messiah to somehow take the Man United job and take us to the promised land, that is not feasible. Unless you're willing to do 115 charges and pour a lot of money, that's not happening. Okay, this season, Pep got that. All right. I like saying this, and I've said this before. Carrick and managers who are flexible, adaptable, they are like they are like the traditional wives. The Luis Enrique and the system managers, they're like the IG baddies. They require a lot of maintenance, a lot of money to prep them. So all I'm saying is this. This is our guy for now. Get behind him as a fan base, and hopefully the board gets behind him too. But Arteta and Arsenal winning the league has definitely exposed a lot of frauds online, and also the fundamental fact that fans are just that. They're supporters. They're not football experts. We're all emotional. We don't know what we're talking about. And for real success to happen, it takes time. You're not going to get a quick fix. Rome wasn't built in a day. It's been the Realistic Red. I've done a lot of yapping. I just wanted to get this out there because these are just things I was thinking about. I'll catch you guys next time. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Comment as well. It helps small YouTubers like myself, helps small channels grow. And I'm definitely a small channel. I don't have a lot of subscribers, but yeah. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.